Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome back to this night-ending bonus. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, channel membership is in the description below. Merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go, and yes, folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's bonus, shall we?
I'm a hunter, and I like to hunt wild boar specifically. Though I've been deer hunting and have been known to get a turkey for Thanksgiving, I mostly hunt boar. For those of you who do not know, boar are a very large problem in the United States. A sow can have 2 litters a year, and that's not uncommon for a litter to consist of 10 or more pigs. Given that pigs eat anything and everything, it's not hard to see why the Department of Fish and Wildlife makes it legal to hunt them with almost no restrictions. In my state, it's illegal to hunt most large mammals at night or with thermal scopes, with the exception of boar and coyote. I'd been saving for a year, mostly fun money. It's hard to explain to your wife that a scope that costs literally twice as much as the rifle I was mounting on is worth. But I did. I took it to the range and sighted it in. There was an area that was peppered with boar activity, and I knew it'd be a perfect night for a hunt. It was easily accessible with my truck, with easy-to-find spots that I could set up and overlook a large, easy-to-navigate clearing. The night started uneventful, mostly me tinkering with my new toy, cycling through the settings. I was a little impatient. I'd spot multiple deer, but they were out of season, and like I mentioned earlier, my current setup is not legal for deer. I moved to another spot I had seen days earlier that wasn't much better than my first, but it gave me something to do, and a new angle to look around with my new scope. After an hour or so of glassing the area, it dawned on me. This spot doesn't have much animal activity at all, no rabbits or owls. The deer that I had seen were hundreds of yards away from where I was. Why was this pocket of land so dead at night, but lively in the day? I'd set up at around 10 p.m., and it was about 2 in the morning when I started to think about packing it up, maybe setting up a target before I left and taking some practice shots. I heard a crunch come from the direction I had come from before. I panned my scope over and saw a silhouette of a small bear pushing through the brush. It's important to note that my scope isn't exactly night vision. It's thermal scope, kind of like a black and white version of what you would see in the Predator movies. I adjusted my range and zoomed in a little. I remember jolting a little when I saw that it wasn't really a bear, it was a man. Because he was so low and hunched over, I thought I was looking at a young bear. Is that a game warden? It couldn't be. I would have seen headlights coming up the road from where I was perched. And where could he have walked from? I was 30 miles away from anything and on public land. I was about to call out when I adjusted my sights and noticed that he was naked. No shoes, pants, or anything. I remember being disturbed by his movements, like a squirrel or something, twitchy and grabbing at the foliage, sniffing around and palming the tree. Was that my tree, the one I had been leaning against earlier? The thought terrified me. Could he smell me? Then he did something I still have nightmares about to this day. He squatted and placed his hands in the dirt between his feet, and stared straight up like a dog mid-howl. And I heard it, a voice coming from that direction. A very compelling female voice. "Help! I'm lost!" There was a long pause, but neither of us moved a muscle. The center of my sights were trained on the dirt in front of his feet. I couldn't bring myself to aim directly at another person. It went against everything I was taught about firearms. Were they lost? Was this some guy that had gone crazy out here? Why was his voice so feminine? "Help, please, I can't walk." The voice called out. That's when I called BS. Not only could he walk, when I first saw him, he was traversing the land with ease for a naked person. So good, I mistook him for a bear. This is a trap. This guy is trying to lure me to him with the damsel in distress routine. Luckily, the lack of activity before had caused me to pack up most of my gear. I believe I may have left behind a hat and a sitting pad, but I really don't give a crap at the moment. I took my eyes off him just for a second to put my pack on, buckled my chest strap, and scrambled for my rifle. To my horror, he's sitting in the same position, but his face is staring directly in my direction, and I swear I saw him smile. The thermal scope has an effect that makes the animal's eyes appear white. How had he heard me get up and put my pack on? He must have been 150 yards away. "Piss off!" I scream in that direction. He stood upright, and it hit me how tall and skinny he was. Easily 6 feet and very lean. He took a couple of long strides in my direction, and instinctively I sent a round sailing above his head into the tree line. He was freaky, and he hadn't really threatened me. What am I going to tell the cops? I was unwilling and unready to shoot a person. He stopped dead in his tracks and hunched down onto all fours. "The next one's going to mess you up. Go away." He stayed on all fours, and this time I had my sights trained on the center of him. His eyes were just above the grass like a large cat or something. I'm trying to stop my trembling and knew that my voice had cracked a little on that last warning. I was terrified. That standoff probably lasted a minute or two, maybe less, but felt like forever. In an instant, he bolted left toward the tree line opposite the road. So much for not being able to walk. I could barely keep him in my scope. He was moving so fast he disappeared into the brush, and I sent another round sailing high in that direction, racked another round, and tried to pocket that mag and swap a fresh one out. I dropped it, didn't bother looking for it. I wasn't far from my truck, and I wanted to get out of here. I could hear him in the distance yelling in this weird sound that could have been a laugh or a cry. I scrambled up the trail and arrived at my truck breathless. I tossed my gear into the cab but kept my rifle in the passenger seat and sped off. For the longest time I told the story from the perspective of having spotted some deranged crackhead living off the land like some kind of caveman. I reported it to Fish and Game, but all they did was scold me for hunting at night alone. Never received an update. It wasn't until I told this experience on a camping trip that my nephew told me about cryptids and such. My experience scared the crap out of him because the spot we were camping at was technically the same forest I had seen this thing, just 50 miles east of it. He was so spooked, his mom, my cousin, had to take him home. She was really upset. I've gone down a rabbit hole on these scary experiences. I'm not saying what I definitely saw was a cryptid, or I don't know. I'm saying that if such a thing exists, I may have dodged quite the bullet that night. Or maybe it was just a tweaker being Donnie Thornberry in the middle of the night. Either way, I'm pretty lucky. I don't know why, but I truly enjoy that experience. I think about it sometimes since the first time I shared it. And actually tonight's first video is supposedly a video of a mimic. And if you look at how this, whatever it is, person, feral person, mimic, whatever, how it moves, it almost moves its shoulders the way this guy describes how what he saw did as well. Check it out. That footage, if it is real, is absolutely horrifying. The person who videoed it claims that it is real. And I just know that if I saw something like that, I'd be, I don't know, going the opposite direction completely onto the next encounter. For many years, I've been trying to find any information I can about a group of animals I encountered with two of my friends about 20-ish years ago. I live in the Ozarks, and this happened near a local nature reserve in the late fall. The three of us hung out on a regular basis. We were sitting in a lightly wooded area, talking, when we noticed a group of about 10 large animals that looked like extremely tall wolves, about the size of a mule deer. Think supersized maned wolf with color markings of black timber wolves. They moved quietly, but made these really unnerving calls back and forth that sounded like the cross between a bull elk chuckle calls and a raptor call in Jurassic Park. Trying to find a way of describing the sound is difficult. The calls were extremely distinct and like nothing I had ever heard before or after. We went completely still and silent as they came towards and loosely circled us. After what felt like an eternity of sitting huddled and giving each other wide-eyed looks, the group of animals broke away and left as quietly as they had come in. We were completely shaken up and asked one another what they could have been and why they would have gotten so close, and left after we felt it had been long enough not to encounter them again on our way out. I've talked about this with a lot of different people and can never come to a conclusive answer as to what they could have been. I lived deep in the Ozarks most of my life and have had run-ins with just about every animal native to the area. I tried convincing myself that they must have been a group of seriously messed up antlerless bull elk with CWD or something, but they only bore a passing resemblance to any North American ungulate, in the sense that it had the body plan of a typical quadruped mammal. I took to calling them wolf deer as shorthand and have been trying to find anyone else who has encountered something similar. Over the years, I lost contact with the friends that were also there that night, but we were all in agreement with what we saw, and that it was not a trick of our mind or a serious misidentification. While it was a scary experience at the moment, the animals didn't seem overly aggressive or particularly threatened by our presence. The three of us were sober and in an area familiar to us, and only saw the one group that one time. The way this guy just described this small pack of huge wolves the size of a mule deer only tells me that him and his friends ran into a small pack of dogmen. Either that or a dire wolf. And, I've sat in my studio many times and thought about if dire wolves still existed today, if they could walk bipedally. There's nothing that big in the canine family in the Ozarks or anywhere in North America. This last piece of video evidence is one of my favorites. if you look at it and you really look at the last piece where it's brightened up, you can actually see a face. Is it a Bigfoot? Is it a Dogman? Is it a creeper? Which pervert? I'm leaning towards Bigfoot, to be honest. Check it out. All right, so everyone in their brother-in-law has seen that video clip. I just like it, and I like the contrast of when they brighten it. You can see that it's not some sort of creeper pervert. You can see that it is some sort of animal, cryptid. It's definitely not human. Moving on to tonight's final encounter. I live in northern Michigan, and I think I may have had a Michigan Dogman experience. I never believed in anything like this, but tonight at 4:30 a.m., I heard weird noises on my roof. My dog had been acting funny for a while, and I went into the kitchen. I had heard what sounded to be a large slam on my porch, even slightly shaking the kitchen floor, looked outside looking for signs of people, and wrote it off at the weather because there was a decent bit of snow and a lot of windfall right now. And when I looked out, all I saw was dog tracks down the porch ramp. I assured it was my dog's tracks and went back inside. But the more I thought, the last time my dog was out, his prints would have been well covered by snow by now. And when I looked again, the prints looked as if there was only one trail of prints, like something just goes up or just down the ramp, not both. If they were my dog's tracks, they would have been two sets of them, when she went down the ramp and when she had come back up. Also, they were much bigger than what my dog's tracks would look like. So I started to do some research and got really shook when I read things on this Dogman, and one thing referred to the Dogman as a Michigan roof stalker and had a picture of it drawn on a roof. This instantly made my heart sink. I never believed in anything like this. But I haven't seen it in person, or it's not scientifically documented. I have a hard time believing it. But this situation just seems so spot on to what I've read about the Dogman / roof stalker. Anything to contribute would be appreciated, other than criticism.
All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this night-ending bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps the channel growing and going, and honestly, what gives people a chance to share their experiences, ideas, and theories, judgment and ridicule-free, simply treated with the respect that they deserve. Thank you. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real, they are out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless you.